Hey, good morning. It's Jim Wolf. We are looking at milestone three at the end of mod four here. And we have been given the task of arguing for or against imperialism, not quite in a debate, but at least setting our opening arguments for a proposed debate. Pretty fun topic, I think, overall. Um, and I'm going to go pro-imperialism on this one. So first, I think before we really get rolling with that, I think it helps to start with an actual but oversimplified definition of imperialism. Imperialism is a concept or act of a larger country or body of government taking over a smaller country or body of government. Boo, hiss, oh, you're so bad. Where's your moral compass? Leave that little guy alone, you bullies. I think it's easy to have that reaction. Admittedly, the basic definition of imperialism sounds like the cool kids in high school taking over the cafeteria, pushing the little guys or the band guys or the chess guys off their preferred table. And there's definitely cases throughout world history, and more specifically, the history of armed conflict in the world that would support this definition. The evil Germans sweeping through Europe in World War I and World War II, the opportunistic Europeans overtaking and polluting centuries old civilizations in South and Central America during the Age of Exploration. Oh, that sounds terrible. Like, and even our understood version of those events, even when looking at them from realistic points of view, it sounds awful. But I would argue, what if we tweak the definition of imperialism a little bit? Not change it, but tweak it, and also add some motives behind imperialism. I think when you do that, you can see that imperialism could work. So let's try. Let's see. Imperialism is when an empire seeks to expand its rule over other countries for the purposes of exploratory, economic, political, as well as military and religious motives. Not so bad. Doesn't sound so bad. It sounds a little better. It seems a little bossy, but I think we can understand why a more powerful country would want to expand its borders for these motives. In addition to the added land, access to raw materials, added citizens, etc., the country can expose the smaller and less knowledgeable countries to all the great things this world has to offer. Examples of this can be seen in America's occupation of the defeated Axis power homelands after World War II. Their argument, or our argument, since we're Americans, probably was, we don't really want to stay. We don't really want to be here, but we feel we owe it to the citizens of these countries to stay behind, and help them with their transition into a free society. I don't know. Might be an argument of convenience. Might sound a little hypocritical, but I think that's what the United States was going with in that case. From the beginning, I would like to argue imperialism can work. And if we separate the evil connotation of the word imperialism, we can see that it can be a good thing, especially from our vantage point as Americans. We can quickly look at three of the motives mentioned above, exploratory, economic, and political motives, and we'll see that it works. So first, starting off, I think it's totally natural for a country, empire, or entity that has amassed wealth and power within its own borders to seek to expand those borders a little bit. It makes sense to want to see what else is out there, see if added resources can help with the continued growth expectations and hopes of the country. There's a great example of this, and an example of it that we as Americans feel proud of. That example would be when the United States, as put forth by Thomas Jefferson in the early 1800s, he grabbed our buddies Lewis and Clark and said, "Hey, head west, see what else is going on out there. I think we're going to need that land. I think we're going to need to know what's out there." Kind of what was going on at the time in America at that time, we're starting to just start to outgrow our colonial constraints. We had moved west a little bit, we had moved southwest a little bit. I mean, specifically from the area of the colonies, and then we got hit with the Louisiana, the beauty of the Louisiana Purchase. What was it, like $15 million or something like that? So for $15 million, we got this giant chunk of land, and we needed to know what that land entailed and what and if there was anything beyond that again could help us with our growth expectations. I think it's pretty cool. There is a counter argument to this, and it's an extremely valid counter argument. There was a victimization of Native Americans. The counter argument would be that the victimization of the Native Americans was not worth the expansion efforts. The military force used, the degradation of an entire society of people. It's not something that we're proud of at all as Americans. But I think it's natural. I think when you have two different civilizations, two different let's call it nations, the Native American nations. I know that's a simplification, and the nation of the United States. You have two different nations, and they both want to occupy the same space. They want to be within here. They want to occupy the same space, and they're so different. Their negotiation tactics, the way that they fight, the way that they speak, their actual language, what they consider valuable. It's so different that when you have two nations trying to occupy the same space, there is going to be conflict. And unfortunately, for the case of the Native Americans, in that case, the stronger nation is going to win, and that was the United States. So it's a tough one, but I understand it. So the economic motives of a bigger country when going outside of its border is also natural. Simply put, finding the natural resources and money to support a big country is not easy, but it is absolutely necessary. It's not exactly the same as moving west for exploratory reasons, but it's similar in nature. A different example in regards to the United States is when the United States, our reasons for being in the United States have been questioned and debated since the 1940s. Our consumption of oil is unparalleled, or has been unparalleled in the world, and our access to it really cannot be denied. Even as we continue to seek alternative fuel sources, our presence or proposed lack of presence in the Middle East creates massive problems. Simply put, for now, we need the oil, and so we're staying put. Political reasons for imperialism sometimes can be a tougher pill to swallow. When you cannot identify monetary reasons or exploratory reasons or military reasons or whatever, just political reasons can be tough. The U.S. involvement in conflicts like Vietnam, Korea, and South America have come at a great cost to our people, to the very fabric of our society. In those cases, though, it can be argued and supported that there was very little to gain financially or from the basis of exploration. Instead, we're there in the face of tyranny. We're there to instill our political preferences or leans against something that we consider to be the polar opposite and thus dangerous. Again, I think it's a necessary means of being an empire. Finishing up, imperialism can and does work in the case of the United States of America. It's not always clean. It's not always pretty, but it is a function of necessity, and one of the reasons why I consider myself pro-imperialism. Thank you very much.